Today's video is going to show you how to do something that's kind of common in a lot of software, MIDI software, where you have a learn function and you can press a learn button, move a slider or knob on your keyboard controller or other hardware controller, and it will be assigned to some software parameter without you having to know what the controller number is or having to reprogram controllers on your hardware. So it's fairly convenient, and it's kind of a nice programming thing to go through. It's going to help you with your first MIDI project, and I'm going to make you recreate it if you want to do it. So here's how we go. We're going to start with a control-in object without any arguments. And so in this case, if we don't have any arguments, it will send out the controller value. That's whatever the slider is set to. But then it's going to also tell you what controller number it is. So like the mod wheel is 1. Let's put a couple of energy boxes on here. And if I move the mod wheel on my controller, you can see that MIDI controller 1 goes from 0 to 127. I can move a slider. I've got one of the nectars like in the lab. It's controller 40, 41, and so on. All right. So just having the no argument control in just gets every controller that's coming in. It's like note in. It's going to take it from every device. It's going to take every note I play. So I'm going to take the controller number. I want this middle box. All right. So that's the continuous controller number. I'm going to send this out to a message that is set $1. Our set message comes back to visit again. And this is going to go into another control-in object. This one has to have an argument. Let's say 127. That's pretty random. Not usually going to encounter that. And what happens when it gets a controller number moving in, it's going to replace the argument for this control-in. So if I just moved 42, let's hook up now. If I look at the number box, this is my controller value. Same thing that would have been out of the first outlet here. So if I go back to the mod wheel, it moves. If I go back to the slider number 40, and you may be able to see, but probably not, there's a little bit of a delay as it switches over, because what's happening is when I move a new controller number, that number gets sent to the set message, that replaces the argument for this control in, and I get this value. Problem is, I still get every controller value because I'm always replacing the argument with whichever one I move. So anything that I do replaces and sends. I just moved like 5 more sliders. So it's good, but it's a little too much. So what we need is to insert a gate in between the number and the set. So let's pull this down. Pull the whole thing. And so then between here, we're going to get a controller value. It's going to go into a gate. And then connect the gate, connect a toggle. All right. So now, as we work through this, I'm going to lock the patch. I'm going to move my mod wheel again, because right now I'm assigned to controller 36. So my mod wheel is 1. Nothing goes through. But if I open the gate, move the mod wheel, now it gets assigned. If I close the gate and try to move slider 40, doesn't go through because it can't assign a new number to the control in because the gate's closed. All right. So this is good. It allows me some control. I can let the controller number pass through when I want. So now, kind of running through this, we need to automate this a little bit more. So what we need to happen is to close the gate once we move a hardware controller. And that's the typical function. I say learn, tell the software to learn, I move the controller, and as soon as I move it, the learn button will go away because it's been assigned. So here's what we can do. we're going to unlock, go back here to the gate. I'm going to make a little bit more room again. And we're going to take, when this number comes out, we're going to send a bang to close the toggle. Then we're going to send the number to the next. I'm going to put the toggle up here just so it's a little bit easier to wrap around. I'm going to do some patcher aesthetics too. So I'm going to use a trigger object because I want to control the order of output. So say trigger, T for trigger, and then I'm always typing in the reverse order of the way the events are going to happen, so I have to plan it out. I need a bang and an integer. So the integer second, the bang is first. So whenever the number passes into the trigger, the bang's going to come out first. And it is going to go to a message that has just the number 0 in it. And that's going to wrap around my toggle. And then the second thing that's going to happen is the integer is going to come here and go to the set message. So now I can lock the patch, turn the toggle on to open the gate, move any controller, and the gate turns off. So now that controller 1 is still assigned to this, the other controllers won't be. Let's open the gate back on because I have my cursor over it. So I open the gate and I move a controller, just move the slider, sent out that it was controller 41. It banged the 0 to close the toggle, or turn the toggle off, which closed the gate. But the integer passes through as the second action. Sets the new other control and object, and now it's assigned. So this is automated. I can turn it on when I want to listen, and I can automatically turn it off as soon as something's been assigned. So now what we're going to do is do a little encapsulation, because this is actually an object that we'd like to use most likely over and over, maybe multiple times in a patch. And we can, in Max, we can save patchers as objects. They can have inlets and outlets. It's a lot like we showed with encapsulation, where I selected a bunch of objects in a patcher, and then I went up to the edit and I encapsulated, and it created a patcher object. Well, here, this is not going to be a patcher object. It's going to be a patcher file that we're going to load in as an object. So I'm just moving around a little bit. So here's what we're going to do. Let's save it with a name. That's going to be the name of our function. First thing to do is kind of check to make sure this function isn't already happening. So I'm going to call it, I actually created this earlier, I'm going to call it ccLearn, but I think it's not going to be able to find it, because hopefully it's not going to find it in the trash. Good. No object by that name. So I'm going to save this file in my demo patcher file with the name ccLearn. It will, in the future, go into a library folder, so you can use it with any patcher. But if I want to put it in my demo patcher, and if I save my other patches in my demo folder, then it can use this object. So it's untitled is going to become ccLearn.maxpat and save it. Okay. Now I'm going to start adding some necessary things for encapsulation. So I'm going to create an inlet connected to the toggle. And what I want to send to the inlet is a bang message. Bang's going to turn the toggle on. I need to tell myself that, though. Most objects like Control N, if I hover over the inlet, it tells me what it's looking for. It's looking for a port message, or a toggle is looking for an integer to set and a bang to reverse, things like this. So I want to go in here to the inspector and look at the comment, click in this, double click in this space to the right of comment. This is what will show when the mouse hovers over the inlet to the patcher that's been saved. And I'm going to say bang what am I going to say? Bang sets learn on. Does that seem good? Bang sets learn mode. Let's try that. Bang sets learn mode. Okay. And then down here, I'm going to have an outlet. And same thing, there's a comment over here, double click, and what can I put there? Something like integer cc value. Usually with these kind of mouse overs, you tell it what kind of data you're going to send or receive. So that's why I started with the bang or the end. And save it again. And let's open up another patcher. Let's call it let's save it first. It's good to have it. Save it into the folder that has my ccLearn. I'm going to call it ccLearn demo. And then up here it's unlocked. I'm going to put a new object and I'm going to call it ccLearn, and I can autocomplete, and there's my object. If I lock the patch and double click, you see a copy of it. See that it's in the brackets, which means it's an opened version or opened copy of the file. I don't include the maxpad on the file. I just type it in with the first part of the name. So not cclearn.maxpad, but just cclearn. All right. Now I'm going to keep going because I'm kind of close. I could start a new video, but it doesn't really need to happen. I'll keep this, I'll close this. I'll keep my demo patch open and just show you that if I put a bang in and I put a number box down here, I can bang, move a controller like my mod wheel, and then it's assigned. I'm moving another fader now and it's not passing through. So I just assigned something to the mod wheel. It'd be great too in most patches. What you do with this, what I usually do is I'll use a send and I'll name it by the function. So like say this is going to be my first step note in my sequencer I made last time. Step note 1. So then it can go to somewhere else in the patch and it's labeled with the receive object, it's self-commented. Okay, so I've got this. So I want to make a little more. I'm going to save it. It's kind of going nicely. I'm going to go back over here to the original patch and do some more additions because what I'm missing is a little more automation and maybe some documentation I could see in my other patch. And that's what I want to do to finish this out is I want to be able to know what controller I just assigned. If I'm over here, I don't know that I assigned it to mod wheel 1 if I go back and look. It's nothing that tells me. So I want to be able to know. I'm going to add, what I'm going to do is add 2 more integer outs. And one's going to go to a print statement that's going to show up in the max window. One is going to go to an outlet. So if I want to hook up a number box. So we can go into my object and I'm just going to type in 2 more i's. I'm going to have to change this patch cord. If I select the patch cord, then I can grab the green and I can move it over. So the bang still closes first. Then the next thing is going to be the print. And I'm going to say print cc number. Let's go over here so you can see the max console. Clear this stuff. Go back and see it. Clear it down here. There we go. And then the final thing is going to be a second outlet. So you see when I've just put one inlet in, or one integer in, integer triggers a bang, but then sends a copy of itself out the remaining 3 outlets. So the second one, let's go to the inspector. It is going to have the comment int cc number. And now I'm going to do the console. I can show you in this patch. I'll open the toggle, move the mod wheel, and you see over here in the console CC number 1 because I gave the print object a label. And the 1 was also sent down here. So let's go back, let's save this, because until I save it, it won't update the object that's being used in another patch. But now you see there is a second outlet. And as I mouse over, I didn't do this before. Bang sets learn mode. Int CC value, int CC number. Let's get, just did an option drag to make a copy of the number. So now let's bang this to open, and let's move an arbitrary knob. And you can see that I moved controller number 39, and that's what's now coming out. And if I opened up my Max console, I can see that it's there. Anywhere I open a Max console, I'm going to see all my messages, but I'm not playing with this patch when I have it in this window. This is the file. It's not happening. If you want to see, I'm going to close this, move this up. If I double click on the object, ccLearn, now if I bang and go back over here, you'll see that this toggle is open because this is the object I opened. This is the copy of the object that's in the patch. And if I move there, it turns off because I moved it, and it's also the CC number that's assigned. So this is a great little automation because I can load bang a message in here, and that's the final spot. Actually, I need to go back and do that one more thing before I wrap up. I know I'm getting kind of long, 17 minutes for this one, but this is a really cool object. So let's open up a recent patcher, my ccLearn. So I want the final thing here, which is I want a second inlet. And this inlet is going to set the learning. So I could have a default state. I can open up a patch and it could be mapped to a default controller without having to do anything. But then if I have to switch controllers, I can go through and reassign quickly. So where this one is going to go is straight down. We're going to cross over some patch cords straight down into the set. And its comment is going to be integer sets CC number. Save it. Go back and close again. Now you see you have that other outlet. And if I had, for instance, a default, I could make the object, new object, load mess. So this will trigger a message, whatever the argument is, whenever the patch loads. Let's say load mess 1 by default. Hook it in, and I'll clear the console. I'm going to assign it to something else before I close it, just so you believe this works. Let's say I assign it to, I gotta lock it. Assign it to 40, 41. Okay. So then save the patch, close the patch, reopen the patch, and did it go through? Didn't seem to go through. Ah, I know why it didn't show up. But if I move 1, it's there. And if I go there, it's not there. So I made a mistake. Let's open up the ccLearn. This is good. It didn't send anything out. So I sent it to the wrong place. I need to send it to I need to send it to the set. I also need to send it to the print and to the output, but I don't want to reverse the toggle. Or I could send the toggle to 0 because it's going to do 0, so I won't reverse the toggle. So let's just type in to the trigger object. It's going to send a bang even though the toggle is not on. Sending 0 to the toggle will keep it off, and the rest of the things will go through. So save this and close it. Set it to whatever we want to set it to. Close it. And there it is, 1. And if I look at the max console, it's set to 1. And it is, when I move my mod wheel, set to 1. So it'll default. Hide all the guts. Have a way that I can set and see what I've set in my main patch and connect it to whatever else I want. So thanks for your patience. I made, actually, after all, 2 10-minute movies, or a 10-minute and 11-minute movie, and I did them all as one. But this one's going to be pretty cool. You will want to put this in your patchers. See you next time.